Barely legal CA, or I'm guessing that means California. Hello. I didn't see your video response until now, and I literally just watched it twice straight through, and I have this response to you. Just a quick response. Nothing heavy duty. I'm happy to get into conversation with just about anybody about left-libertarianism, so you are no exception. So I kind of quoted a bunch of topics and subjects and things you said, and I'm just going to address them one at a time. We'll see how long this video takes. Hopefully it doesn't take up too much of your time. So first off, so the 15 minutes thing, yeah, so basically what you want to do is you'll want to use a different program than I said this in a comment on your video, but just so you see it, or just so it bears repeating, so maybe it, because you don't seem to understand what you have to do, and that's okay, because I didn't either at the first time, so I don't feel bad or anything. You're supposed to use a different program than the direct, like right now I'm recording video from webcam. You're not supposed to do that if you want to have more than 15 minutes. You want to use a different program like Windows Movie Maker, or you want to use a webcam's own program and then make a movie out of that and then upload it to your computer. It's a little bit of a more difficult process, but I think it's worth it in the end. You'll be able to get a lot longer videos out of it. So happy video making. Anyway, yeah, you said lengthen your narther. I don't know how to say that. How did you say that?
I have something to cam horror. Here I am. This is me using using YouTube as social media, which I'm not great at, but this is a response to length unithar's latest.
Length unithar. Okay, sorry about that. Length unithar. Is that really how you say it, dude? Okay. Lengthen your narther was I didn't know how to say it. Length unithar. Maybe that makes more sense. I don't know. Anyway, I think that's kind of confusing. I don't know why he has that name. So you start off basically by saying that you'd love to understand people who talk about left libertarianism or historically anarchism. Great. Well, I'm here. Let's talk. Bam. So got that settled. You'd love to talk about it. I'd love to talk about it. Let's do it. Now you say you'd love to talk about it or you'd love to understand the people who have talked about anarchism in the past, who own anarchism. Well, I'd like to tell you, no one owns anarchism. Kropotkin, Emma Goldman, Bakunin, Murray Bookchin, these people don't have a monopoly on the term anarchism. They might think their anarchism is the best, but even then, I don't think they have some sort of monopoly on it. That'd be kind of weird, wouldn't it? So no one has a monopoly on it. I don't think left libertarians are real anarchists. I just think we have a more consistent ideology. But that's it. I mean, I don't think we're the true anarchist or whatever. I think there's probably, there's ways to improve left libertarianism, so it's probably inconsistent too. I mean, it's an approximation. I just think left libertarianism approximately gets better to the truth than everything else. It's less wrong than right libertarianism, and I know those terms really haven't been defined. I can define them for you if you want, but and it seems like I do need to. Because you say you don't understand them. You don't understand when people talk about anarchism, and you don't really understand. You don't really explain why. And I get that. That's because you want to split it into 10-minute segments, and I totally get that. I used to have that issue too, and I'm actually using my webcam, so I'm gonna have to cut this down to 15 minutes or less. Really 14:59, but whatever. But I'm just curious why you say you don't understand the anarchists. I'd like you to understand them, and I think you're talking about Kropotkin, Emma Goldman, Bakunin. I'm no expert on any of them. I've read Emma Goldman's Anarchism and other essays. I've read a few essays by Bakunin and Kropotkin, but not any of their major works. And I haven't really read Emma Goldman's Living My Life. So, I'm not an expert on any of them. So I don't know how much of use I can be, but I'll try to be as much help as I can be. And you also seem to be confusing left anarchism with left libertarianism, but we'll get there as we go along. So you talk about this anarchist bookshop, and this takes up the majority of the time of your video, which is fine. That's fine. And you said, but I'm curious. How do you know it's anarchist? You say it's been around since the 70s, but you don't explain how you know it's anarchist, other than the fact that they call themselves an anarchist, or I presume that they do. I'll take your word for it, sure. I have no problem taking your word for it. but I need a little bit more info on the bookshop than just it's anarchist. You know, how do you know it's anarchist? Do they call themselves that? Have you ever talked to the people there? I mean, imagine you have. You know, I'm not doubting that you have. I just want you to go a little bit more in depth about this thing because I'm a bit skeptical. You know, it adds a bit more credibility to your story is really all I'm saying. So it's not that I don't believe you. I'm just a little bit skeptical of how anarchists they really are, or if it's just lifestyle anarchism or something. I don't know. Anyway, I'd love to learn more about the Anarchist Bookshop, what they're called. I'd actually love to learn more about them in a more informal manner, like not even debating-wise, but just know what they're called and where they're located and stuff like that. Although I guess that would give you away, wouldn't it? So maybe, you know, private message me and tell me where the Anarchist Bookshop is, because I'd love to know about it. I love Anarchist Bookshops. So you say that you're all happy to be in the factory. Great. I mean, if you're happy working for a boss, I'm not going to go in there, point a gun at you, and say, egalitarianism, bitch. I'm not gonna do that. You know, I'm a libertarian. I'm not gonna violate the non-aggression principle. I'm not going to use physical violence or coercion against you so you can conform to my will. Now, I might try to reason with you. I might say, look, you know, I know that you guys are happy working for the boss, and you know, maybe you are. That's fine. But let's talk this out, because I think you would be better off in a different situation. And I don't think that's arrogant to say. I think plenty of people make that sort of opinion all the time, that they think other people would be better in other situations than what they think. You know, I mean, and I'm not trying to compare. I'm just making sort of analogy or something like that. Like you would tell a crack dealer or somebody who does drugs, and I'm not comparing that with working to a boss, but you know, just for example, you would tell them, look, you know, I know maybe you're happy getting all this money and stuff, but I think your lifestyle would be a lot safer if you weren't a crack dealer. You know, I don't think that's arrogant to say. And again, I'm not comparing that to working for a boss, but I'm just saying that it's not de facto arrogant to say, look, I think you'd be better off in a different situation, even if you feel differently. It's just a difference of opinion, and I think we could reason it out. So I have no interest in forcing you to not work for a boss. If you're happy working for a boss, that's fine. I think there are some suspicious reasons for wanting to work for a boss. I don't think there are good reasons. I think you'd have a lot more autonomy if you worked with your fellow workers. But, again, libertarian, not going to force you. Just going to try to reason with you. And if you don't want to, that's cool. So anyway, you talk about the least helpful, that this anarchist bookstore was the least helpful. Now, I've watched your video twice through, and this caught my eye on the second way through, so maybe I should have watched it a third time. But, you know, I don't know, then it starts getting a little bit ridiculous. And this is all, I'm trying to keep this under 15 minutes here, so I don't know why they would be the most helpful with the state or with paying rent if they're anarchists, especially left-wing anarchists in the strain of Kropotkin, Bakunin, and Emma Goldman. I don't know why they would be helpful with the state, let alone paying rent. But if you mean something else, I'm a bit lost. If you mean like they're not helpful with you, or they're not helpful with, I don't know. Maybe I'm missing the context, but you know, just explain it to me, because I'm fully, you know, I fully welcome hearing you out. So you talk about equality, the downtrodden, egalitarianism, and all of that. You know, the stuff that they apparently support. Look, you have the same problem lengthen has. You don't know what we mean by equality. You don't know what we mean by the downtrodden. You really don't know what we mean by egalitarianism. That's a whole big other debate, but please don't bring it up if you're not going to define your terms. And this is nothing against you, dude. I don't have anything, I'm not like really pissed at you or anything, but it is starting to get on my nerves that both you and lengthen are like, you keep bashing equality, but you never define your terms while you're bashing it. That'd be like me telling somebody to shoot straight ahead of them, but not defining like exactly where, or you know, it lacks proper precision. And I really think you should have more precision in your terminology. What do you mean by equality? What do you mean by egalitarianism? Why do you not like it? Do you think everyone supports a Harrison Bergeron type style of universe? I mean, what? I don't get it. And I don't get lengthen on this point either. So you say who's going to act when decisions have to be made? Well, the group. But then you say the executives. So now I'm lost. how are they anarchists if they're not collectively organizing and decision making and based on consensus and stuff like that? Like, that's not the de facto anarchist way. I'm not claiming it is, you know. Occupy Wall Street's method isn't de facto the only anarchist way to go about things. But that seems a bit weird to me. So I'd like you to go in more depth about what you're talking about there, because that seems a bit specious to me, at least on their side of things, not necessarily yours. Though I'm skeptical, again. I mean, you know, you just tell us that it's an anarchist store, and, you know, maybe if you give me a private message and tell me more about them, because I know that would reveal your location, and you don't sound like you want people to know who you are. Clearly, I don't care. I'm unemployed. I don't, typical anarchist, I know, right? I'm unemployed, and, you know, I don't really have any big fears about it either way, even if I was employed. So you call it a bureaucracy. Well, I don't know if I go that far. Bureaucracy is like overly complicated relations, right? I mean, it mostly has to do with governments, though it certainly can have to do with business structure, and I'm glad you recognize that. But and that's great. That's actually a very left libertarian kind of point. But I don't think you could call it a bureaucracy if it's only like 10 people, which is usually what anarchist bookshops are. And they have a few executives. That doesn't sound, although the executives, I agree, are specious. I don't know why they're there. You know, I agree, I don't know why they're there. I don't know if it's fair to claim that it's a bureaucracy. And again, you mentioned the least helpful thing. I don't know why they would be helpful with the state. That's what you make it sound like. But if you're talking about something else, let me know. Because you make it sound like, well, they're the least helpful with paying rent. Why would anarchists be helpful with paying the rent? It's like, why would you be helpful with paying taxes? Wouldn't you put the IRS man through hell? Yeah, I'm not saying they're equivalent. I'm just saying in their minds it's equivalent. Anyway, this is now the left anarchist, left libertarian distinction. So you talk about left libertarians, left anarchists, left libertarians, true anarchists. Look, there's a difference. Left anarchists are typically anarcho-socialists, anarcho-communists, anarcho-primitivists, syndicalists, I don't know, whatever else. Left libertarians have three major schools of thought. The first one is the Steinerite-Valleyite, I don't even know how to pronounce it, and you can look this up on Wikipedia. It's their economic thought, and it's basically Georgism, and, you know, egalitarianism and economics and shit like that. I'm not too educated on it, but it seems like minarchist welfare state stuff, not really things that I advocate. Number two, libertarian socialists, people like Noam Chomsky. You know, I really don't know who else you would say besides Noam Chomsky. You know, maybe anarcho-communists call themselves left libertarians or libertarian socialists, but those kind of people. But that's not who I am either. The third is free market left-wing anarchism, or left-wing market anarchism, excuse me. That's what I meant to say, left-wing market anarchism. People like at the Center for a Stateless Society, like Brad Spangler, like Charles Johnson, like Gary Chartier, like Samuel Edward Konkin III, like Karl Hess, like Maury Rothbard back in the 60s, like, you know, again, over and over, Henry George, Frank Oppenheimer, so on and so forth. So those are the kind of people I like. I'm not Kropotkin. I'm not a Kropotkinite. I'm not a Bakunite. I'm not Goldmanite, whatever. So anyway, you basically wrap this up by saying this is one example. Yeah, it's one example. I don't really think, and you admit that this is just your personal experience, and that's good, because this is definitely just your personal experience. I don't think it's fair to say that this would not work out in the real world just because this one organization, which I think is specious to begin with, before we even get started, I think it's specious that they would have all these things. You know, anyway, I just don't think it proves your point as much as you'd want it to. That's all I'm saying. Collectivism, egalitarianism, brotherhood. Again, define your terms. Don't just randomly say we're collectivists, we're egalitarians, we support brotherhood. Yeah, I support people, you know, being brotherly with each other if they want to be. You know, I don't see what's wrong with showing love with your fellow humans. But I think you're thinking about things in other terms. So again, define your terms, and let's have a good conversation about this. I'm totally willing to do that. Cheers, man.